Brings back happy memories for the three of us of seeing our flight hardware, but also a shiver down our spine as we step forward into the next chapter of our destiny in human spaceflight. So we are going to stay, as the administrator said. That's very important, and we have the hardware not just for Artemis 2, but for flights all the way out through Artemis 6 already in work. And that's very significant. We've been spending a lot of time the last couple of years to really focus on what are the objectives that we need to prove on the moon. What exactly do we need to learn before we're ready to go to Mars? And this is a crucial first step along that way. One of our North Stars is science. That's why we explore, to learn more about the universe, our solar system, our Earth, ourselves. And there will be some exciting experiments on Artemis 2, mostly focused on radiation and crew, because we now have the opportunity to have a crew that we have to advance this particular kind of science. But I do want to say for a moment, personally, as a test pilot, how important this mission is for test flight. All the things that we want to do with this vehicle, we have to understand that vehicle and its capabilities and push its envelope in order to achieve all the things that we hope to do with it in the future. So that is the critical focus of this mission, is to do that test flight, to push the boundaries, to learn about this vehicle and its capabilities so that we can continue to do amazing things on the surface of the moon and then eventually on Mars. And this is the beginning of that cadence, and we're excited to be here today to see us off on that first chapter.
Well, I just want to say that it's always great to come home to Florida and KSC. This is where the action actually is, and not up in Washington, although it's a different kind of action up there. And it's great to see the crew. It's great to be part of this leadership team. This is our crew up at NASA headquarters, and I can't think of a finer team to be a part of than with these two. This crew down here, they're something special. They are really great people, very accomplished. And seeing them see the spacecraft, you know, I know when they saw it, it makes it real. They know that they've got a mission that's coming up. You know, I think back to when we were seeing the modules of the International Space Station when they were just an aluminum shell, and watching them come together and be completed. We knew we were going to have a mission when we got to go up and assemble the space station. It really makes it real. They got something to look forward to, and I envy them. I know these guys really well, and I'm very concerned about their health and safety. And I want you to know that as we move forward, going to the moon, going to the South Pole, safety is going to be paramount. It's not without risk, but we're going to do our very best to understand all the issues, the risks, to mitigate them as best we possibly can to ensure the safety of this crew. And that means a lot. And I want you to know, having lived through Challenger as a young astronaut candidate and through Columbia in a senior leadership position, we're going to do our absolute very best to ensure that when they strap in, we have done all that we possibly can to ensure their safety. We're learning a lot from the first Artemis test flight, Artemis 1, and that's going to help prepare us for Artemis 2. And Jim Free, my good friend who's leading this exploration effort for us, will share more about that. It's great to be here. Thanks.
Thanks, Bob. Good afternoon, everyone. Great to be here. I guess I'm my own crew here because there's a crew there and a crew there. No, it's really great to share with you where we are with the hardware. We recently, towards the end of July, completed our post-flight assessment review from Artemis 1. That's where we go through all the mission objectives, look at open items and anomalies, and trying to decide if we're on the right path for Artemis 2. We looked at a number of things that have been open, the heat shield, an electronics box on the service module, and some of the release and retention bolts. Probably the highlight things. I think we have plans forward with all of those. We still have to get to root cause before we get to flight rationale. So to Bob's point about safety, that's one of the things we need to get through. As far as overall, we're still working towards the end of November for 24 for Artemis 2. That's critical to stay on that path. It's this balance of pushing hard but maintaining the right philosophy of not pushing too hard, if that makes sense to you. But I think to us up here it does, because we still need to press and get our missions on a cadence where we're doing the exploration around the moon and on the surface. This is a great first step for us, but we do need to be vigilant and care about the people going on these missions. We do have a number of weeks of risk to that date. The crew module is the critical path right now. We have to get the crew module assembled and tested and then mated with the service module, then turn it over to the ground system folks here for processing. The exploration ground systems team here continues to push towards a mid-November roll of the mobile launch tower out to the pad to do some verification and validation tests of all the systems that have been upgraded and repaired since Artemis 1, and they're on a good path to the 16th. They completed a couple weeks ago the repair of the cable that holds up the crew access arm. So that was a big change. We were originally going to roll out on the 1st, but that was one repair we had to make. Orion, I talked about the crew module already. I'm sure it was great to see inside that for the crew. The service module was handed over from our European service module partners in the European Space Agency in June. We're continuing to work on the heat shield. We'll probably look for final disposition of that early next year. The Space Launch System, all the hardware is here right now except the core stage. We're holding the core stage back in Louisiana for some repairs that we need to make to one of the downcomers, and that'll probably be shipped in the November timeframe. There's no impact to the overall critical path or anything for stacking, which will probably start in the February timeframe of next year. From a flight ops perspective, obviously the crew training is well underway. The landing and recovery team, which is part of the ground system group here at Kennedy, did the underway recovery test number 10 last week, which included a night recovery. And I know the crew got to see the team in San Diego before they put to sea. We're really not working major issues right now. We have some of the dispositions I talked about, but I think we're on a good path, and I want to stress that vigilance piece. I tell everybody, and I think I sat here at this table and said Artemis 1 was a great mission. We learned so much from it. The success was incredible. The only thing that carries over from that mission is the engineering. We're using all new hardware, so that vigilance of putting that hardware together and calling out when things are not right or there's a concern is really important, because these four folks next to me here depend on us to do that. So that'll be a focus of the team, and look forward to talking to you as we head closer to Artemis 2. Reed?
Awesome. Thanks, Jim. We made it to Kennedy. This is awesome. I'll speak on behalf of Victor, Christina, and Jeremy, and then we'll get into some questions. But we're fired up. It's a great day yesterday when you walk around the corner at the Neil Armstrong Operations and Checkout Facility, and there's your spacecraft that you're going to ride in. The ship, as they call it over there. And we got to look inside and hang out, and it was really quite fascinating. We've been busy since April 3rd. It kind of started with a bit of a media blitz, but then we got down to work. We've been studying spacecraft systems at the Johnson Space Center. We have gone out to Denver to visit with the Lockheed facilities out there and meet the engineers that are working on the vehicle, from the software, controls, and displays. As Jim said, we were out in San Diego working with our beloved United States Navy and the rescue and recovery forces that are working alongside NASA. And now here we are for our first visit as a crew to Kennedy Space Center. I think I want to touch on just two quick things. First, we get asked often what the measure of success for Artemis 2 is. And to the four of us sitting here, the measure of success for Artemis 2 is seeing our colleagues on the lunar surface, seeing our colleagues assembling Gateway, and then seeing people that are following in our footsteps walking on Mars and coming back to planet Earth. Like, that is the measure of success for us. Artemis 2 is the tiniest footnote in the Artemis campaign, and that is really what we believe. And every day that we go to work, we're looking at this vehicle for the future. We're not looking at this vehicle for Artemis 2, and that means a lot to us. The other thing that I wanted to say, because it's really struck us, is we hear about the hardware, and it's real. Most of you saw it this afternoon with the spacecraft. Those that have been to Michoud have seen the booster, out in Utah.